What happens when one of country music's biggest stars walks straight into the lion's den of daytime television and refuses to step back from one of the most outspoken hosts in America? What you're about to see is one of the most fiery confrontations ever broadcast live. And believe me, you won't believe how this whole thing plays out. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below because this story is absolutely crazy from start to finish. Blake Shelton walked onto the view set with his usual laid-back swagger, flashing that familiar grin as he sank into the guest chair. The crowd broke into loud applause, thrilled to see the country superstar in person. Whoopi Goldberg greeted him warmly, and at first the conversation went smooth as they chatted about his newest record and upcoming tour. But then Joy Behar leaned forward, her face suddenly serious. "Blake, I have to ask you about some remarks you made recently about the music industry and political correctness. A lot of folks found them very controversial." Blake's smile stayed, but there was a sharper edge in his voice as he answered. "Well, Joy, I think people are worn out from being told what they can and can't say. Country music has always been about speaking the truth, even when that truth makes people uncomfortable." Joy didn't back off. "But don't you think artists carry a responsibility to be aware of their platform? Your words reach millions. Those millions are smart enough to make up their own minds." Blake shot back, his tone getting firmer. "They don't need celebrities or TV hosts to tell them what to think." The air in the studio grew heavy. Whoopi tried to redirect the talk to Blake's time on The Voice, but Joy pressed forward. "I find it interesting that you keep talking about truth-telling when country music has historically left out so many voices. How do you reconcile that with your comments about authenticity?" Blake's jaw tightened. "You know what, Joy? I think you're confusing country music with something else. Country has always welcomed anyone who can tell a good story and mean it when they sing. We don't care about where you come from. We care about your heart." "Really?" Joy challenged. "Because the numbers say otherwise. The industry has been criticized for years for lacking diversity." "Numbers?" Blake repeated, shaking his head. "You want to talk numbers? Here's what I see when I'm out on tour. I see people from every walk of life singing the same songs, laughing at the same lines, crying at the same stories. That's what counts, not some figures on a spreadsheet." The other hosts glanced at each other, sensing the storm building. Sarah Haynes tried to lighten the mood with a softer question, but Blake wasn't letting go. "And furthermore," he continued, pointing a finger toward Joy, "I'm real tired of people like you sitting in your ivory towers, telling folks how they should live and what they should think. You don't speak for country fans, and you sure don't speak for America." Joy's eyes flashed. "Excuse me, people like me? What does that mean, Blake?" "It means people who think they know better than everyone else," Blake replied firmly. "People who look down on folks from small towns and rural areas like we're just a bunch of dumb hillbillies." The crowd went silent. The earlier excitement was gone. Whoopi tried desperately to pull things back under control, but Blake and Joy were locked in. "I have never called anyone dumb," Joy said defensively, "but I do think we need real talks about representation and inclusion." "Real talks?" Blake laughed bitterly. "Is that what this is? Because from where I'm sitting, it feels more like an interrogation. You invited me to talk about music, but all you want to do is push politics." The cameras captured every second of the growing clash. The control room was scrambling, unsure how to rein it in. Joy slammed her hand on the desk, the sound echoing across the set. "You know what, Blake? I've been doing this for decades, and I don't need some country singer coming here telling me how to do my job." Blake leaned back with a dangerous grin. "And I don't need some talk show host who's never set foot in Nashville lecturing me about my industry. You want to talk inclusion? Tell me, when's the last time you had a country artist on here who wasn't grilled about politics?" "That's not true," Joy shot back. "We've had plenty of country singers." "Name 3 from the last 2 years, Blake challenged, folding his arms. Joy opened her mouth, but no names came. The pause was crushing. "That's what I thought," Blake said smugly. "You don't actually care about country music or the people who make it. You just use us as punching bags when it suits your agenda." Whoopi tried again. "Blake, let's cool down a little." "No, Whoopi," Blake interrupted, his Oklahoma drawl stronger now. I'm tired of cooling down. I'm tired of seeing media folks trash country music and the people who love it. We're not your enemy, but you sure seem determined to treat us like we are. Joy straightened in her chair, refusing to give in. Nobody's calling you the enemy, Blake, but when your statements sound exclusionary, people are going to call it out. Exclusionary? Blake's voice rose. I've spent my whole career bringing people together through music. I've mentored singers of every background on The Voice. I've worked with artists from all over the music world. What have you done to unite people besides stir division on this show every day? The audience sat stiff, watching this raw showdown unfold. Sonny Hostin tried to step in, but Joy snapped back, "How dare you question what I've done? I've been fighting for civil rights and fairness long before you were even famous." Fighting? Blake barked a laugh. Is that what you call sitting behind a desk throwing rocks? Because where I come from, fighting means rolling up your sleeves and actually doing something, not just running your mouth. The color drained from Joy's face. You need to watch your tone with me, young man. Or what? Blake shot back, leaning forward. You'll cancel me? Write some angry piece about how terrible I am? Go ahead. I've been in this business long enough to know controversy sells records. Alyssa Farah Griffin tried to switch topics. Blake, let's talk about your charity work. But Blake was focused only on Joy. You know what the real problem is? Blake said, pointing again. You can't stand that there are still parts of America where people think different from you. You can't stand that country music speaks to values that don't match your worldview. That's not true, Joy insisted, but her voice had lost power. Isn't it? Blake pressed harder. Then why do you and people like you constantly attack what we stand for? Our music, our beliefs, our way of life. You act like we're a disease to be wiped out. Nobody's attacking your way of life, Joy shot back, her voice shaking. But if that way of life leaves people out, then yes, it will be criticized. There you go again, Blake said, shaking his head, putting words in my mouth. Making assumptions about me and my fans. You don't know me, Joy. You don't know where I come from, yet you sit there judging me like you've got it all figured out. The control room was panicked. Stagehands moved nervously off camera. This was live TV spinning totally out of control. Joy stood abruptly, her face red with anger. You want to know what I know about you, Blake? I know you have a huge platform, and instead of using it responsibly, you use it to push division. Blake rose too, towering over the desk. Division? That's rich coming from you, someone who makes a living stirring the pot every day. At least I bring people happiness with my music. What do you bring? More anger? More resentment? I bring truth, Joy shot back, her voice trembling. I bring accountability. Truth? Blake laughed coldly. Maybe your version of truth. But here's the real truth. The people you claim to stand for, the working Americans you say you fight for, they're the same people buying my records and showing up at my concerts. They don't need you speaking for them. Whoopi tried again. Okay, everyone, let's take a breath. But Blake wasn't done. He lowered his voice, and somehow it carried more force. You know what's sad, Joy? You could have had a real conversation with me today. You could have asked about my songs, about the fans who tell me my music helped them survive rough times. But instead you ambushed me with political talking points. Joy sat back down but stayed defiant. I asked you valid questions about things you said. If you can't handle being asked about your own words, maybe you shouldn't say them. Handle it? Blake's voice rose. I can handle anything you throw, but I won't sit here and let you twist my words and paint me as something I'm not. I've always treated people with respect no matter their politics or background. Can you say the same? Joy opened and closed her mouth, then managed. I have dedicated my life to fighting for equality and justice. For your version of equality, Blake corrected. Your version of justice. But what about the millions who see things differently? Where's their voice on this show? Where's their inclusion in your version of fairness? Sarah jumped in. Blake, I think Joy is saying everyone deserves to be heard. And I agree, Sarah. Blake softened slightly. But inclusion works both ways. It means including rural voices, too. It means not assuming someone's hateful just because they live in Tennessee or Oklahoma. Nobody assumes that, Joy protested weakly. Sure you do, Blake fired back. Every time you mention country music on this show, there's a smirk, some snide remark about outdated values. Every time you talk about the South, you treat us like we're backward. That true, Joy insisted again. It absolutely is, Blake snapped. And the worst part?